that we're taking to improve the facilities that are available. So here's the interesting part, I hope. What's worked well? So we've got over 1,000 data sets now within data.gov.uk from 35 organisations. So we're building up a body of data and services. That's already around 13% of the capabilities in data.gov.uk. The federated model is new to the degree that we're talking about here, and that's worked well. The Inspire approach is a good approach. I think having a geospatial strategy that covers all policy areas, that's much better than just focusing on environment, where Inspire is currently. I think the strategic decision to align with wider policy was very much the right decision. We've done a lot of work to achieve consensus, firstly in the legislation and then on implementation, and that's been really important. And there were some real difficult challenges that we had to work through in doing that, but getting that consensus has been important. Engagement and communications have been critical to this, to achieving success. We've had some top-level success. We've taken the programme to the UK's Transparency Board, which is chaired by the Cabinet Minister, and on that board sits Sir Tim Berners-Lee. So that was good. We got that profile. I say, to a degree, you always need to continue to develop your profile. Transparency Board said, yes, you're doing a really good job, but we want more from you. We want much more. So, there was a lesson for us there. We've developed close working relationships with partners. We have a core programme, but it's those relationships that are really important with the devolved administrations, with thematic partners. They help us achieve our targets. They help the core programme spread the load. And we've produced simple step-by-step guidance, or at least we've tried to simplify things as far as possible. We focused very much on users and benefits as soon as we could after we started work with data publishers. So we were supply-led at the start. Now we've moved more to being demand-led, and that's really sowed the seeds for future success. And we've already extended that into the private sector, the voluntary sector, and academia through those engagements. We've had a data mandate from the retail sector in the UK. So that's an action to respond to. So, some of the challenges then, and I think these are some common challenges. I think, firstly, and perhaps this is key, raising awareness at a senior level. That's a constant challenge, and the landscape is very crowded. Inspire is only one of the many things that are happening, and it's in the back room. A lot of people know that there is this thing called Inspire, but they don't really appreciate what it does. Now, there's a need for real good case studies and success stories, and there's a need for engagement, talking in the language, talking about the business interests of those that you're talking to. And interestingly, we've found that UK government has data policy very much at the forefront of its thinking, and that's good. We've been able to tie in with that. But those policy demands from the PM and from the Cabinet Office, they've had more impact than the legislative demands of Inspire. So I think there's an important lesson there. In terms of national policy, there's a similar message here. There's a broad landscape. There's many things happening, and Inspire is just one of the things that is around. So our programme is well integrated with national data policy, and we're supporting other important policies as well, like growth and big society within the UK. I think, though, when we're working with policymakers in environment, policymakers outside environment, we have to secure recognition of Inspire, of our GI policy, on a case-by-case basis. So, that is quite a challenge for us, and that landscape is crowded. And through this, you can't be everywhere. You know, sometimes inconsistencies arise in some of our legislation. And there's an example here in the Flood and Water Management Act, where the use of GI across local authorities is somewhat optional. So, if things are optional, how do you join things up across local authorities? So, these are some of the issues that arise. And of course, if we're talking non-environment, that's a step further, and the challenges are even bigger there. And of course, it helps when Europe gives us regulation that makes it really clear on the role of Inspire, not just makes statements to say, what you produce must be compliant with Inspire, but exactly what should you produce that's compliant with Inspire, and maybe how should Inspire change in order to integrate with this new piece of regulation. So here's a picture that solves the world. I'll just run through a few things about the environmental landscape and the challenges it gives publishers and users. So reflecting on the environmental information landscape, you've got a lot of policy either side, at a UK level or at an international level on the other side. And basically what you're trying to do is connect resource providers and users. In fact, our programme, you could say, is a marriage broker, and its function is about connecting resource providers and users. Now, you use standards, and standards are great. You've got this pool of information, and that information is accessed through various portals, applications, etc. But there are many different access points. At a global level, GEO, GGIM, we've got information, environmental information about these really important societal benefit areas. But we've got EU access points as well. We've got the Inspire Geoportal, Eye on Earth, etc. Within the UK, we've got data.gov.uk, but there are several other access points for environmental information. There are national portals as well in the devolved administrations, for example. There are various thematic portals for marine information, biodiversity, etc. So you see the picture building up, and environmental information is also accessible on lots of individual websites and through applications and services. So our publishers, they've got lots and lots of different channels and standards to consider. Now, they want to publish once, have it used many times, but they've got this whole picture to consider. On the user side, now, where do you find this information? No, it's not always easy to find this information. It's not always straightforward. So, how can we improve this? Well, we've got data.gov.uk, and in the environmental field, it's not just about data. No, it's about the research, it's about the models, it's about the analysis that's done as well. So, maybe a consolidation of access points around data and around those wider information types are the way forward, and that will give us standardized publication. And maybe rather than publishing our metadata to all these different access points, we can set up some metadata exchange. We're already doing that with the Commission. That works nicely. And that will enable us also, enable users to discover those resources simpler and faster. And of course, users will still be able to use their existing access points, but maybe we can cut back on some of those. Maybe we can save some money. This isn't UK government policy, by the way. These are ideas on how I believe things should be consolidated. So we've got other key challenges around harmonising different data sets. Just because you're Inspire compliant doesn't mean to say that you can piece the data together. We've got that wonderful triumvirate of licensing, intellectual property and rights management. We're working on that, but there are challenges on that. The skills agenda I mentioned was an important part of the location strategy, but we haven't progressed that as far as we would have liked. And of course, we're spending all this time and money creating these assets, But there's a real challenge in maximising the value of those assets and an opportunity as well. So there are some of the things there that we'd like to do, that should be done to maximise the value of the assets. So, in terms of the actions, and I'll cover two sets of possible actions here, at the UK level and at the European level. And I think you'll see some similarities in carrying these forward. So this isn't an exhaustive list, but at a UK level, we need to proactively engage to ensure that alignment is continued with the wider policy landscape. It's a very dynamic landscape, so you've got to keep working at it. We've got to embed the governance of the programme and our strategic governance into wider governance to make sure those linkages operate effectively. Focus more on user needs and applications. Those are the route to delivering benefit, not the SDI, not the data. It's the applications and supporting the users. Extending the principles of Inspire to other policy areas. We couldn't possibly do it as blanket policy, so it's got to be on the basis of a business justification. And that emphasis on senior awareness and senior awareness, it's not just about awareness, it's about appreciation of the value of Inspire. So we need to carry out an active engagement programme with key policymakers. We've started work with the private sector, but we really need to progress that more to support growth. And we've set up services, and they're working fine. But we've got to make sure that we continue to give good service and continue to work through partnerships. So carrying this forward at a European level, and I think there are some messages that go forward. And there's quite a few things that I'll cover here. So you could say this is a wish list. This needs to be prioritised. But in my own personal view, each one of these is an important area to consider. And I guess the first thing is about integration. It's about exploiting synergies. Location is everywhere. So there's a lot of policy initiatives there, thematic initiatives, initiatives around e-government, statistics initiatives, where Inspire can play a role. And as I said earlier, alignment is really important, but this may lead to changes in Inspire. So, one of the key things is around making sure there is integration with the different thematic directives in the information requirements. Looking at where Inspire the principles of Inspire can be deployed in wider policy areas, maybe in transport, in health. There's some key uses of location information there. There are very important cross-sector initiatives like the Digital Agenda for Europe, Open Data, the European Interoperability Framework and the Statistics Programme. We've already got work underway, or the Commission has got work underway on integrating Inspire, GMAS and SICE. But I think there needs to be more help from Member States in understanding how they can do that as efficiently as possible and sharing best practice. And also working at a global level as well. Inspire has an important role to play at a global level. So, integration is critical. So is leadership. So are benefits. I said we're all about benefits. So Inspire is governed in ways that you all know. There's a lot of participation, and that's great. But we need to look at that and make sure that it connects better with its customers. We're delivering services here. And its customers are data providers and users. You're all marriage brokers in this. And also connect better with the partners, other EC and member state policymakers and suppliers. We can't all do it alone. I think the European Commission needs to take a fuller role in championing and Inspire across Europe, not just talking to the engineers, the GI specialists, but talking to policymakers. I think there needs to be a general trend to change the emphasis from supply to demand. The private sector has an important role here as well. I think the Commission needs to review with Member States what impact Inspire will have with the private sector. We need to support the digital economy and deliver growth and create some collective opportunities, not just share best practice. I think communications is critical in all of this, and we need to have a collective communication strategy and sponsor sort of various things that can't necessarily be done without collective action. Maybe cross-border applications, cross-domain applications. Within member states, we're all spending money to effectively do the same things. So perhaps there's some shared projects that we can deliver together. But there'll need to be some facilitation of that. And finally, on implementation, I think there's an important role in facilitating and sharing best practice across member states. I think there's some work to do, some improvement on the current ambition. We do need to improve the quality and timeliness of the guidance that's coming through and simplify that guidance. But I think there are important sort of new areas of guidance we need to consider. Maybe how to develop communities, because this is all about community activity. These key issues around licensing, intellectual property and rights management, facilitating information sharing on that, and on wider technical standards. Delivering benefits is critical as well. So I think guidance and approaches around how to do that, sharing case studies and guidance on realising benefits. Skills are critical to this. We've long said Inspire is a first, so doing a first is quite difficult, and I think everyone has done a good job. But I think there's more to be done on skills, maybe developing a skills framework, putting together resources that can be shared, running competitions, and maybe some consultancy to provide some assurance to member states' implementations, and actually get people helping out in sharing best practice, or maybe on specific projects. Maybe that consultancy could be applied to specific projects, perhaps those that are sponsored in the earlier slide. So there's quite a lot there. And I mentioned that prioritisation is important, but I think each one of those provides a practical pointer to consider. So in conclusions then, and drawing together the UK position and the wider European position, within the UK we're well integrated with wider policy, so we think that's worked well. But we've done the easy part, and there are many challenges, and not only about implementing Annex 3 and transforming data. We've got some worthwhile experience to share, and we're very happy to do that, and we get benefit from learning from others. We recognise that and appreciate that. But and here's the key to this: we do need more concerted steps by the Commission and by member states to make the implementation as straightforward as possible, to raise that profile, ensure the Inspire approach goes much more widely than where it does currently, and deliver those tangible benefits. But we've got to recognise, there's a lot here, we've got to recognise the constraints of the current economic climate. But it's not just about introducing cost into the equation. Inspire really does deliver benefit. We all are doing something that's really worthwhile. So I'll just end with a few words that really are key to all of this. We've got to listen, we've got to prioritise, we've got to simplify, and we've got to communicate not just with the specialists, but we've got to communicate outside the GI world, and we've got to deliver some real benefit out of this. Thank you.